Thank you for joining us on this Saturday, the 4th day of May 2019, live from the nation's center. Welcome to NTV Weekend Edition. Tonight, a government well-heeled in denial.
Okay, kusema kwamba mali imeibiwa katika hizo containers si kweli.
Now, a regional coordinator steps in to defend the government on the container clinic's sham. Also tonight, student who stole uncle's livestock freed by the courts.
Pia msasi niliambia kunishughulikia kuhusu hiyo shida ya karo ya shule, akakadaa hakunishughulikia, akaenda zake.
We tell you why the court was lenient with the minor who stole. Plus, Deputy President William Ruto has a new message for his opponents.
Mimi nataka niwasaidie hawa wangwana, wawachane na Ruto, waende watafute mpango na sera na program ya kuuzia wa Kenya.
As well as blowing hot and cold on 2022 politics. And
ethnicity is one of the biggest enemies of the people of Kenya.
Raila Odinga's plea to Kenyans to end ethnicity.
This is NTV Weekend Edition with Edmond Nyabola.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Rafael Mbalo. To our top story, the controversy surrounding the 100 mobile containers currently lying idle at the National Youth Service Camp in Miritini area continues to deepen. The National Assembly's Health Committee members who inspected the containers on Thursday claim that some of the mobile container clinics lack basic equipment and have been vandalized. But Coast Regional Commissioner John Elungata has rubbished the findings by the committee, saying the rundown clinics are well kept and secured at Miritini area.
Again. 4 years since their purchase from Estama Investments, these 100 container mobile clinics are yet to find their use. The improvised clinics that featured in the 5 billion shillings Afya House scandal have been at the National Youth Service NYS camp at Miritini area since December 2015. The clinics cost taxpayers 800 million shillings and are yet to give any return for their value. On Thursday, members of the National Assembly Committee on Health inspected the controversial mobile container clinics at the NYS yard in Mombasa and discovered that some of the equipment supposed to be inside is missing. And some of the containers have been vandalized. The legislators inspected about 60 of the 99 containers. They claim some containers do not have medical equipment while the consumables have expired.
What is in this container is only stands for the seats. On the other side, if you look, it's empty. Yeah. And I've gone to another container most containers, the critical medical items are missing.
Now, even if they are removed to their various destinations, they will not be fitted as a clinic because all the consumables have expired. And other machines, I believe, are frozen because you cannot put a machine for 3 years without being used.
The microscopes are gone. We have looked at some of the containers. They are only full of chairs. And another container is full of the bars to do the canopy and the seats. So for me, it is a total mess.
However, Coast Regional Coordinator John Elungata has dismissed claims made by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health. Elungata claims the portable clinics remain intact.
Tokea impression kwamba hizo containers zimeharibika na hazina vifaa. Lakini ukweli ni kwamba zile containers ambazo ziliweza kuonyeshwa hazikuwa zimekuwa assembled kwa sababu container haibebi kila kitu ambacho inastahili kubeba. Vitu vimegawanywa katika containers mbalimbali.
The containers have been rotting away slowly since the first batch arrived in the country in 2015. The committee had earlier asked the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to release findings of the investigation they carried out on the containers imported from China.
This was an issue which was under their investigation. They have not told Kenyans what they found, who are capable, who are supposed to be taken where.
The MPs said they were disappointed that the Health Ministry could not produce the delivery invoice from the supplier.
The invoice which is itemized which gives us what is in each container. We are being given all manner of stories, but as a committee, we are going to do further investigation.
We cannot go round with this any longer. And we are going to write a very, very thorough report for action to be taken.
The Ministry of Health needs a total of 600 million shillings to enable the project achieve its intended mandate of offering primary healthcare services to Kenyans living in informal settlements.
So our urge is that we request the health committee to at least avail us the funds so that we are able to quickly move these containers and operationalize them to alleviate their necessary suffering.
By give out 600 million for consumables and personnel when the containers are lying Miritini. As a committee, we are not going to agree. And we are very clear on that.
Health Cabinet Secretary Cecil Kariuki gave strong hints on Friday the mobile clinics would be deployed despite their state, saying a ministry team was inspecting them. It raises questions about government wisdom in spending more on the project, which was deemed to have been far too expensive and scandalous. The portable clinics were to be placed in informal settlements and had to reach areas in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu. Rozongoi, NTV.
Now, failure by the national and county governments to agree on terms of use of the portable mobile clinics could see Kenyans lose hundreds of millions of shillings. The 100 container clinics, which continue to lie idle in Mombasa, were supposed to have been dispatched to the counties in 2016. But as NTV Silas Apollo now reports, their stay at the coastal town means that the taxpayer will fork out for their renovation, transportation and even operation, despite earlier claims that their prices had been inflated.
As the 100 container clinics continue to gather dust in the coastal city of Mombasa, some are now of the opinion that their stay will not only derail the provision of healthcare in the counties where they were supposed to be sent, but will also add more cost to the taxpayer. Besides the cost of transporting them to their respective counties, which has been estimated to be over 300 million shillings, the clinics require support systems like toilets, water and electricity, waiting bays, among others. This is besides the cost of running them, which the Ministry of Health has estimated to be hundreds of millions of shillings every year, save for the price of hiring staff. Their continued stay at the coast also means that the government will require additional funds to rehabilitate them.
We are very clear as a ministry with the direction of the Cabinet Secretary that we will salvage the mobile clinics and make sure that they are dispatched to the different parts of the country in the spirit of the intention of the project. Health
Cabinet Secretary Cecil Kariuki has insisted that the containers will only be dispatched once a committee inspects them. The National Assembly's Health Committee has in the past insisted that it will not approve further allocations to the project, which it wants could become a white elephant.
Whatever means we are going to do, we are not going to add you more money. Make sure that these containers are out. You can even advertise. I think the media can come in. The governors, if they see this, I know there are many who are willing even to pick up the containers.
The containers have sparked controversies since 2016, after the Ministry of Health was accused of inflating their prices. Documents seen by NTV indicate that the agreed sale price between the government and the suppliers of the containers was 10 million shillings per container, a price which critics argued was too high. The controversy is that Estama Investments, which is the firm contracted to bring in the equipment, bought the containers at 1.4 million shillings each, but sold them to the government at 10 million shillings each. The other bone of contention was that the government opted for a single source tender, despite opening the process to other suppliers. Some of the counties that were said to benefit from the clinics are Kisumu, Nairobi, Murang'a, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kericho, Nakuru, Nandi and Makueni. But even after the huge cost incurred in their purchase, the taxpayer has not been able to enjoy the services that were to be offered through the clinics. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Now, away from that story, a student who was arraigned and charged with theft for having stolen his uncle's cattle is free and settled in his father's home. Amos Kipkorir was freed on 30th of April when the court was told that he had stolen the cattle and had planned to sell them to pay his school fees. NTV visited the home and learned that the young man, though free, is yet to raise the money for his fees arrears in excess of 70,000 shillings.
There seems to be an awkwardness at the Koech family home after the release of Amos Kipkorir, a son of this home whose need for an education pushed him to the extreme.
Pia msasi niliambia kunishughulikia kuhusu hiyo shida ya karo ya shule, akakadaa hakunishughulikia, akaenda zake.
His was a calculated risk that unfortunately landed him in trouble when he was discovered in the dead of the night trying to make away with his uncle's cattle.
Nilikuwa nataka kuuza usiku kwa sababu wamekadaa niuze. Nilileta biashara mchana akakataa. Sasa nilikuwa na mpango yangu ya kuuza.
The family maintains that they were unaware of the pressing need he had that pushed him into crime. His father laments the events of the last few months that led to his son's incarceration. He denies that his failure to pay school fees was intentional.
Na huyo ako na areas mingi sana. Watoto 10 iko ya standard 8. Ile napata huyu lakini pesa hapo sina. Uchumi hapo ni kidogo sana. Nimeshinda mimi.
Amepewa masharti alipe kule. Kijana arudi shule. Yeye ana.
Kipkorir's academic dream is hanging on the balance until he's able to pay the fees in arrears and that of the future. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
I wonder what you would do if you were that young man. We certainly hope he finds the 70,000 shillings he needs to pay his school fees. Let's now cover some politics. Deputy President William Ruto says his opponents should stop focusing on him too much as they risk losing public support. The Deputy President mockingly told off his opponents, saying that he is not a project and asserting that political contests would be won on the basis of manifestos and policy. NTV's Mel Miendo reports that for the Deputy President and his allies, it was political business as usual, despite claims to the contrary.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Wajir County with a message for his opponents: leave me alone. Ruto, who was cordially received by Jubilee leaders in the Wajir and Isiolo region, spoke boldly of boosting the development agenda in the county, asking for patience and promising that more will be done. But as has been the case of late, the 2022 succession debate was not too far from his lips, this time saying there was undue focus on him by his opponents and mocking them about it.
Wewe ukimwambia Wakenya ati Ruto ni mradi, wanajua wewe ni tapeli, wewe ni mkora na wewe ni mjinga. Mimi nataka niwasaidie hawa wangwana. Wawachane na Ruto. Waende watafute mpango na sera na program ya kuuzia Wakenya. Ndio Wakenya wawasikize na watusikize sisi Jubilee.
The Deputy President blowing hot and cold on the issue of early politicking as he tackled his opponents on one hand and denounced early politicking on the other.
Ile kazi imebaki sasa ni deni yetu kwenu ya kazi na mambo ya maendeleo. Hawa watu wengine hapo wako katikati hapo na story mingi, tunataka tuwaambie watulize boli, mambo bado. Uchaguzi inakuja 2022, tutakutana na nyinyi huko.
But as Ruto asked to be left alone and focused to be on development, his allies seemed to have ignored his set of instructions, or perhaps they had another set on their own.
Sisi tuko ndani kabisa. Sababu Jubilee ndio imetuleta hapa ikatupatia mamlaka. Sasa nani amesema Jubilee ni mbaya? Yule anaona ni mbaya aende.
Deputy President, sisi hatukuchagui kwa sababu ya jina yako ama kwa sababu ingine. Tunakuchagua kwa sababu ni wewe unakuwa na sisi wakati tunakuhitaji.
The leaders seemingly defiant in the face of recent criticism as they lauded the Deputy President for contributing money to religious institutions.
Unajenga msikiti, unajenga kanisa, unajenga wamama, unajenga wa vijana. Your Excellency, wale wanakukashifu, wao pesa zao wanatumia kwa starehe.
Mambo yao tu ni story na fitina. Huyu fitina kule, fitina mahali ingine, fitina sehemu hiyo ingine. Mimi nataka niwapatie free advice. Wawachane na hiyo story, wajipange.
The Wajir visit by Ruto and his allies was styled as the official opening of several schools by the Deputy President, as well as the commissioning of a new power generator in the county. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Now, staying with politics, opposition leader Raila Odinga is warning that Kenya will not succeed in its war against corruption unless Kenyans unite and shun ethnicity. Odinga says corruption is one of the biggest enemies of the people of Kenya.
Raila Odinga was in game in Siaya County attending the memorial mass service of his father-in-law. The need to unite Kenyans in their diversity and shun ethnic discrimination took center stage.
Ethnicity is one of the biggest enemies of the people of Kenya. This is followed by corruption, another major enemy of the people of Kenya. And third is discrimination in terms of resource allocation or sharing of resources in the country. So these are the things that we want to correct.
The ODM leader maintained that his focus now is in resolving challenges ailing the country through the Building Bridges initiative.
Even the rigging of elections is part of corruption. So these are the things that we want to correct. And if we do this, then we'll create a more responsible, a more caring, and a more development-conscious society.
Leaders who accompanied Odinga have condemned those opposing the pact between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Odinga.
Tunasikia wale watu ambao wanapigana na mambo ya handshake, na tunajua kwa nini. Kwa sababu walikuwa wanapora mali ya Wakenya, na ile amani ambayo imekuja imefanya sasa waanze kukamatwa.
Hii handshake ni ya maana kwa Wakenya. Na ule mtu haoni maana ya handshake, tuachane na yeye. Kwa sababu ni kasumba ambayo itaisha.
Odinga warned churches in the country against being used as an avenue for money laundering by politicians. Vincent Odur, NTV.
On that political note, let's take our first short break on NTV Weekend Edition. We still have more lined up, including some stories that you might have missed this week and you'll never hear about anywhere else except on NTV Weekend Edition. Don't go too far. with us on NTV Weekend Edition. Now, a section of Kilifi County Members of Parliament have defended the move by Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa to deny ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna the opportunity to address mourners at a funeral held on Friday. The legislators, led by Magarini Member of Parliament Michael Kingi, condemned the attacks on Aisha Jumwa, saying she did the right thing. NTV's Helen Wanjohi has more details.
Kwa heshima zote mahali ulipofikia, hatuko hapa kusikia masuala ya chama cha ODM, tuko hapa kwa mazishi kumfariji Kingi.
Friday's incident between Aisha Jumwa and Sifuna brought to the fore the bad blood between the MP and the ODM party over her expulsion, which she has since challenged in court. A few lawmakers, including Magarini MP Michael Kingi, Kilifi North MP Owen Baya and nominated Senator Christine Zawadi, say Jumwa was right. Addressing mourners, MP Kingi said that Jumwa was still bit after her expulsion, and it was only fair she defended herself, as she could not allow the ODM Secretary General to ridicule her. Kilifi North MP Owen Baya hit out at some unnamed Kilifi MPs for working with neighbors against their own leaders, adding that what Sifuna did was wrong and showed lack of respect for local leaders.
Mheshimiwa Sifuna aongee mambo ya chama pale, kwa sababu hata leo kufikia leo Mheshimiwa Aisha Jumwa si mwanachama wa ODM. Yeye alitoka kitambo.
We will demand that respect in whichever way, perpendicularly, horizontally, and whichever other way. We will demand that respect.
The MP spoke during a burial ceremony of Kilifi County Women Representative Gertrude Mbeu's father, Justice Monyanje, at Kibarani in Kilifi Town. Jumwa, who was present at the funeral, adding salt to injury, told Sifuna that he is a nobody as he never campaigned for ODM in Kilifi, adding that he was lucky as she would have punched him for disrespecting the Mijikenda.
Kuzunguka mbuyu si shida, kukumbatia ndo matatizo. Kwa hivyo Dodge, mimi vile ambavyo uko hapa nataka ukampe salamu Sifuna. Umwambie Sifuna, sisi wakazi wa Kilifi tuliingia ODM kwa hiari bila kulazimishwa.
Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi warned Jumwa about her reaction to the whole matter, saying she could have handled it better.
Kuna mbinu ambazo hizo kizitumia, bila shaka utavutia Wakenya wengi na Wakilifi wengi.
The incident has portrayed that there are two camps within the legislators in the county, one opposed to Jumwa, led by Ganze Member of Parliament Teddy Mwambire, who accompanied Sifuna to the funeral, and another one supporting her. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
And to a sad story, a middle-aged man has killed his wife and her alleged lover at Mailitisa town in Kajiado County. The suspect, Samuel Gitonga, is said to have found his wife in their matrimonial bed with her lover early morning when he returned home from a drinking spree. NTV's Helen Aura with that story.
Residents look in disbelief. Some appear shocked over the death of their neighbor. This is Samuel Gitonga's house. He has been accused of brutally killing his wife and her lover by strangling her to death and stabbing her lover several times on the neck, stomach and chest with a knife when he found the two in bed early morning as he was returning home from a drinking spree. Neighbors said the couple had been having marital issues.
Mtu ukiona ndoa imekuwa nzito, unagombana mara ya kwanza na ya pili, wewe ondoka tu, kwa sababu hii maisha ni Mungu anapanga, si mwanadamu. Usinganganie mtu ambaye unaona amekutisha ya kwanza na ya pili, uongoje mpaka ya tatu, maana hii kungoja kusema kuvumilia ndio unakuja unajipata kwenye maafa kama haya.
Na mtoto mmoja mdogo sana wa miezi 7 hivi tulikuta katika maziwa ya mama yake akinyonya hali mama amekufa. Ilileta huzuni kubwa sana.
The deceased left behind 3 children aged 3 years, 2 years and 7 months who are now in the custody of a neighbor as police track down the family. Mailitisa town residents are accusing Namanga OCS Ronald Kimanzi of laxity as there has been an increase in illegal brews and dens in the area. The 2 bodies of the deceased were taken to Kajiado Referral Hospital mortuary. The suspect is being detained at the Namanga police station as investigations have commenced. Helen Aura, NTV.
Let's take another short break on NTV Weekend Edition. When we come back, we tell you about a love story made at a refugee camp. You do not want to miss that. Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, life away from home can be tough to adjust to. Such is the life of two refugees Democratic Republic of Congo native Kashindi Mitima and his Ugandan counterpart Aisha Namirembe, who have been holed up at a refugee camp for years. NTV's Eunice Omolo met the pair at Kalobeyei refugee settlement. She shares this love story, highlighting the struggles that brought the two together despite religious and cultural differences.
Temperatures as high as 34 degrees, clouds of dust depicts the discomforts of the refugee camp life in Kalobeyei settlement. Home to about 26,000 refugees from different countries in East and Central Africa. Here they live as one people, having left their home countries of Uganda, Burundi, Congo, Somalia on account of conflict. But even the clouds of dust have a silver lining, for in the midst of nearly unbearable conditions, a chance for a fresh start, and sometimes for a lucky few, a chance at new love. Kashindi Mitima, 26-year-old, who fled Democratic Republic of Congo, and his wife, 22-year-old Aisha Namirembe, who sought asylum in Kenya from Uganda 3 years ago, have found just that. Affection that first simmered and then boiled into a comforting love.
Nilikimbia kutoka Congo 2015 ndio niliingia Kenya.
The two have taught their hearts to love, giving spark to hope for living for the two foreigners who are miles away from home.
Yani mi nafurahi na mpenda juu saizi kukutana hapa kwa kambi mwanaume anakupenda sana. Bengine wanakuwa wanachezea banamuke na banabatupa, lakini Mungu tu alinibariki mwanaume mwenye ananipenda na ananisaidia kila kitu. Yani na mimi nampenda zaidi, kisi na ananipenda zaidi.
Kwangu mimi na mke wangu ambaye ni Aisha, mapenzi yetu inakuwa kila siku. Inakuwa kila siku. Yani kila siku bukikucha bunaingia naendelea na kumuona mpya zaidi. Venye tumekutana kwa hii maisha ya kampu, maisha magumu, sisi wote ni wakimbizi na bado tunaendelea na kuungana mkono hivi na kupendana. Najua ya kuwa mazuri mengine yako mbele.
The two-year marriage is mirrored in the interaction and cemented by the little miracle amongst them, their baby, Akonkwa Mitima.
Hello, shetem baby.
They have weathered life trials, risen above harsh conditions, proving their love to be stronger than geographical and religious boundaries.
Mimi sikuangalia dini, lakini roho yangu ikamchagua yeye, nikaona ni vizuri nikae naye. Na yeye akanikubalia, hakunikataa cause mimi ni Mkristo, akanipenda hivyo. Nikakaa naye hata kama sasa tunapitia hiyo matatizo fulani kidogo kidogo ya kututishia maisha kwa ajili ya hizo dini zetu mbili ambazo tumeoana na yeye, lakini najua mapenzi itazidi tu na hatuwezi kuachana kamwe.
Hata sasa mimi nimeshageuza dini, nimeshakuwa Mkristo. Swasha kama familia yangu gisi nasema, siwezi hata kumwasha. Siwezi kumwasha mume wangu. Ndiye ananisaidia kila kitu. Hakuna familia yangu saidi kunisaidia. Yani mimi naona tu kila iko kama baba yangu, iko kama mama yangu.
The journey they have traveled together is a reminder that they're stronger together. Camp life may be tough, but their love is tougher, and so are they.
Niliangalia venye mke wangu alikuwa analia machungu, venye mimba imemsumbua. Nikijiangalia naona mimi ndio sababu ya kufanya huyu mwanamke anaumia hivi.
As days grow into months, the two are eyeing years ahead, filled with love and bliss. Eunice Omolo, NTV, Kalobeyei, Turkana County.
Such a beautiful love story, I should say. Now let's take another break on NTV Weekend Edition. When we come back, we will have those stories I told you about, including one from Marsabit County. Don't go too far. Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, the high maternal mortality rate in Marsabit County, in which 1,200 children die out of 100,000 childbirths, is expected to drop following the launch of a mother-child complex at the Marsabit County Referral Hospital. The facility seeks to give maternal health a priority with 150 million shillings worth of investment pumped in. The complex is expected to handle diagnostic, referral and emergency cases, as NTV's Melita Oletenges reports.
Marsabit County is among the counties with the highest mortality rate in the country, with over 1,200 deaths for every 100,000 childbirths. Most of these deaths are caused by residents traveling long distances for specialized treatment. But a new dawn in the county could turn that around, as a 150 million shillings complex comprising of a new renal unit, a CT scan center and a sterilization unit has been opened to the public.
We all know that most of the referrals from Marsabit are necessitated by the need for accurate diagnostic services. The availability of CT scan in our hospital will now bring diagnostic service closer home, reduce the need for referrals, and will ultimately reduce the cost burden of seeking these services elsewhere.
The complex has a newborn unit, 2 major and 1 minor theater, and 4 wards with a bed capacity of 50 patients.
Siku hizi tu mama anadeliver vizuri, hata kama hajafikisha wakati wa kudeliver. At least anasa mtoto akiwa na 6 months anaekewa incubator mpaka mtoto anakuwa mzima.
Ni uzuri tu mtu ajifunge hospitali. Because kama mimi ningejifungua nyumbani ningekuwa nimepata shida.
According to the county health department, up to 70% of residents now prefer hospital delivery, up from 46% in the year 2017. The facility has about 150 deliveries each month, a number that could go up as more mothers are encouraged to give birth at the hospital for safer deliveries and handling of emergencies.
People now know the service in the hospital, so even health-seeking behavior has improved. So wamama wote wanataka kuzaa kwa hospitali. We now have at our disposal more spaces and facilities to do more for many more people.
The facility will also receive referral cases from the vast and remote areas of the county, such as Ileret, North Hor, Sabarei, Kargi, Loyangalani, among others. Backup generators to power the hospital in case of power outages have also been installed in a bid to ensure that the hospital operations run uninterrupted. Melita Oletenges, NTV.
Before we get into the fun stuff, what was previously known in the pharmaceutical market as Actol terms will from now onwards bear the Ino brand, which will help push the product better. In a colorful launch of the Ino tablets, the management announced that they will increase support to the product by investing in advertising and providing attractive offers to distributors.
Here we go, there we go, there we go. Special effects logo.
Actol is the same brand. It's only the name and the look that have changed. It's still going to work on heartburn, same way that Actol was doing.
Reminds me of the good old days when every stomach upset would be treated with Actol terms. I'm sure you remember those if you are as old as I am or older. Now let's enjoy some fun stuff. You might not have heard this anywhere, but have you heard this? Burundian President Pierre Nkurunziza loaded his 12-year-old daughter and gave her money at May Day celebrations designed to honor the country's top workers. Now, state broadcaster RTNB tweeted that the head of state gave an envelope of money to his daughter, Naomi Nkurunziza, for, get this, behaving well at home. The president described Naomi as a hard-working citizen who loves Burundian culture and sport. Now, what were you doing aged 12? The things I was doing myself were certainly not worthy of such praise, and my parents were obviously not the president to award me. Have you heard that former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe was a victim of spousal abuse? It was so bad that the army even once considered giving him shelter at the barracks. An unnamed official or former aide was quoted in a newspaper report as saying that while Mugabe was still in power, one of his children approached an army general to tell him that the former president was being badly beaten and abused by his wife, Grace Mugabe. Think about how he ruled Zimbabwe when back home he had his tail between his legs, figuratively speaking. By the way, have you heard that social media platform Instagram is testing out hiding the number of likes you get on each of your posts? They say this will ensure the platform feels less like a competition. The test has already started in Canada, where users are now not able to see the actual number of likes per post. Fame on Instagram is all about the number of likes one user gets. I hope they do it just so we become all equal with the 100 or so likes on my Instagram posts. And have you heard this? This parrot was taught to alert the Brazilian drug lords of nearby police raids by cawing the words, "Ma'am, the police." Unfortunately for the criminals, the feathered lookout was unable to warn them in time for one raid, and they were captured. Now, get this, the parrot was also seized by the police and brought back to the station for questioning. The police were unable to retrieve any information from the bird because, like a good comrade, it kept its beak shut. So what has your pet done for you? I hope you enjoyed that. Now, time for History Saturday, where we review some of the key events that happened across the world in the years gone by. On this day in 1979, Margaret Thatcher became the first woman to be elected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The Iron Lady, as she was known, is remembered for emphasis on deregulation, free markets, and privatization of state-owned companies. She died from stroke on April 8, 2013, aged 87. Now, remember all the girls from your village who were named after her. I remember some of them from my village. On this day in 1924, the 8th Olympic Games opened in Paris, France. This was the second time France hosted the Games, the first being the year 1900. 126 events in 17 sports disciplines were held. The United States topped the medal table with 99 medals, 45 of which were gold. Africa was represented by Egypt and South Africa. Kenya, of course, our first Games being 1964 in Tokyo. And there were some notable births. On this day in 1928, Hosni Mubarak, former Egyptian president, was born in Kafr El Mesla, Egypt. Mubarak was the 4th president of Egypt, ruling for 3 decades from 1981 to 2011, when he resigned due to protests. Also on this day in 1989, Rory McIlroy, the Northern Irish professional golfer, was born in Holywood, Northern Ireland. He became one of the most successful golfers in the history of the sport, holding the #1 spot for 95 weeks. To some more fun stuff. Journalists marked the World Press Freedom Day on Friday across the globe. But as that happened, a young refugee from a camp in East Africa marked the day by making small steps towards his dream job. In our picture of the week posted by the United Nations Refugee Agency, this boy, identified as David, modeled a camera from clay. He wants to be a photojournalist someday. Now, this reminds me of the days when we modeled cars, tractors, and other things during our childhood. But see what I turned out to be? Just a mere journalist. I should have become a car maker or something. What happened to me? Now this week, Rumba fans in Africa are in mourning. This following the death of Mose Sesengo Fanfan, the composer and guitarist of the popular song Papa Lolo. I'm sure you know that song. Mose Fanfan collapsed and died at a hospital in Kasarani, Nairobi last night. He, at one point, graced our NTV studios, hosted by Jane Goiri on Johari after the release of the Papa Lolo hit song in 2016. Mose arrived in Kenya a week before the Paris-based group of 4 artists who came to perform at this year's Labor Day celebrations in Nairobi. The Democratic Republic of Congo-born musician lived in Kenya in the early 80s before moving to the UK. He was to leave for Tanzania this morning to record some new songs, but as fate would have it, he passed away. His hit song, Papa Lolo, not Lamba Lolo that you might be aware of, is our clip of the week. May his soul rest in peace. Let's now take a short break. On NTV Weekend Edition, we come back with the sports with Brian Otuwa.
Doha Diamond League. The South African was running in Doha, Qatar 2 days after the Court of Arbitration for Sports rejected her appeal to get the IAAF new regulations thrown out. The new Chemelil Sugar 2-1 in a Kenyan Premier League match played at the Bukungu Stadium. Vihiga ended a 9-match winless run and in the process moved 24 points despite maintaining their 16th position, while Chemelil Sugar stay on 14th with 29 points. In Sunday's games, league leaders Gor Mahia will be away to Western Stima. Tusker host second-placed Sofapaka. FC Leopards and Mathare United do battle. Posta Rangers face off against Bandari FC, and Sony Sugar will be away to Zoo Kericho. Some rugby, there was drama on Ngong Road as Kabra Sugar crushed Kenya Harlequins and Impala pipped KCB to sail into the final of the country's oldest rugby competition. At the RFA grounds, the Sugarmen produced a masterclass, outclassing the hosts Queens 54-11. At the Impala grounds, home team Impala produced a surprise, edging 2017 champions KCB 11-10. Antonio Diambo kicked from 50 meters to knock out KCB, who led 8-10, heading to the final stages of the game. The finals will be played on Saturday, May 18th. And Liverpool are currently playing Newcastle, seeking to regain top spot in the English Premier League, while Cardiff City have been relegated after a 3-2 loss to Crystal Palace. 9-man Tottenham Hotspur missed a chance to seal their top 4 spot after losing by a solitary goal to Bournemouth, scored by Emmanuel Ake. Chelsea play Watford, Huddersfield host Manchester United, while Arsenal battle